Hello and welcome to Chad Mental Health, where I teach you how to be a Giga Chad about your mental health care. And today, I'm going to just be talking a little bit about the importance of making sure that you are in a stable and fairly nurturing, if possible, environment. If you live in a massively chaotic situation, it is going to be very detrimental to any ability that you have to get anything better with your emotional stability. And that is regardless of whether or not you have mental illness or not. But if you do, it is incredibly worse, as is most things that you have to deal with on a regular basis when you have a clinical mental health condition. So you can only imagine how important it is to be in a situation on your daily life that you, especially where you live. If you live with people that are constantly causing you to be in your mental state when you weren't, when you were able to handle it before, if you have the capability to get out of that situation, you really kind of need to, because you're just going to get worse. It's an unsustainable situation. And anything like that in our lives is no bueno. You should not be in that kind of a situation, if at all possible. Now, the difficulty comes in where most of us that are in those situations do not have much of a choice, if any at all, and where it's very sad and very difficult, and you can potentially never get out of it without help. And even worse when you have a mental condition that makes you very flaky for work because you get so wrapped up with your illness that you can't even deal with your own family, let alone random people at a workplace environment that are potentially going to be very hostile towards you. And somebody with a mental illness who already thinks that people are saying things about them that they're not because of hallucination, imagine what you'd feel. It's pretty awful. Really, when you really start to think about it, can you imagine being at a place of work where there's people all around you who are yelling and you're constantly being triggered into feeling as though you're being hit in the head with like someone slaps you in the head? Imagine that every time somebody made a loud noise, it felt like you were getting slapped in the head. And then also imagine that you're at work and you're trying to do math and you're not even good at math to begin with. And so try to do anything that's something that requires the use of your brain, and you're constantly being slapped in the back of the head. Try to do your job then. See how you feel. And then you know how I feel. Like, for real. It's not fun. And medication can only help so much. Ask a war veteran about their PTSD. I mean, I know that's an extreme example, but, what they used to call shell shock is a real thing. Your brain gets damaged by trauma. It's real. My brain was damaged in childhood from my teacher who locked me in a closet and beat me and left me in there for the rest of the day after she demeaned me and told me I was worthless and would come in periodically through the day. It was horrible. And I still have issues with that because she would stand right behind me, right here, and she would berate me and hit me. And I would be facing the wall. So she'd be telling me how horrible I was, and because I was a boy and I was terrible and I would never amount to anything. So while she was beating me, and then she would leave me huddled in the corner to think about nothing, because I didn't even do anything wrong. The only thing I did was I would say, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Why are you doing this? But, the whole point is, I'm not going to get into that story more, but the point is, it damages your brain for life. And any time that I have a noise from around here that's abrupt, it feels like I get hit, like I'm getting hit. So it's very difficult for me to be in situations like that where I have to actually function all the time. I can deal with it a lot of times. I can. And it's also more difficult when you're somebody that can deal with things even though they're almost unbearable. But you deal with it with a smile on your face. Oh, because it's life, because we have to, right? That doesn't mean it's easy, especially for people that are differently abled. The amount of disrespect that I've seen, and I'm not even talking about myself right now. The amount of disrespect I've seen to people just because you can't see that they have a problem, especially if you're considering yourself a Christian and you tell people how horrible they are, who are genuinely trying their best, who are disabled. Like, come on. That's not a very Christian thing to do. You should be a little bit better than that. Try to be supportive, be Christ-like, like you're supposed to be. It's very important that we try to follow a good example, not bad ones that are being toxic and negative. Toxic is a very modern word now, even though it's been around forever. Toxic is being used a lot now to be just a negative thing. And when I get toxic, it's usually because I held something in, because I was in a toxic environment and I just held it in until I exploded. And the whole reason why I was bringing up all of this to begin with is because it's a horrible environment to be in, and it will cause you permanent damage if you stay in there. There isn't a lot of ways that you can get out if you don't have the means, but if you can, I do urge you to try to get out of that situation. There is nothing that's worth staying in a situation where that you're being abused. Please don't stay in that kind of a situation. Try to be good to each other. And I hope that you have a good morning, a great afternoon, or an amazing evening, wherever you're at.